so we are back here to discuss the second episode of the Resident Evil TV series on Netflix titled The Devil You Know. Y'all might remember last time we talked about episode 1, Welcome to New Raccoon City. We got to meet the Wesker family back in 2022, including twin daughters Jade and Billie, along with their father Albert Wesker, who arrive in New Raccoon City and start to begin to uncover the secrets within, including the dangerous Umbrella corporations and their experiment with the drug Joy that has been revealed to contain portions of the T virus in it. Now, we ended episode 1 with the end of our 2020 story with Billie being bit in the neck by a Cerebus. That's a T virus infected job, and Jade saving her life by killing the dog. And we're left with the idea that, well, that's pretty much it for Billie at that point, because if you get bit, you turn into a zombie. So that's where we left off the 2022 story. In 2036, though, Jade Wesker, who was brought to one of the free facilities out in the world now because the world has been decimated. We don't know by what, but something else has gone down and the world has just been completely decimated. She finds out that her saviors are also her captors, as they've contacted Umbrella to collect a bounty on her head. Unfortunately, Umbrella showed up and killed everybody at the facility, and rather than submit to Umbrella and go back with them, Jade decided to leave or by leave I mean jump off the tower of this free facility into a group of zombies. So that's where we leave off in the 2036 storyline. So at this point here, now that we're moving forward, a lot more is happening over the course of this episode. Now, like I said, the great thing about this series is the fact that it's a completely different take on the Resident Evil mythology. Yeah, we have some of the creatures that are in there. Albert Wesker's in it, even though it's a different Wesker than what we're used to as well. But we're left wondering, when certain things happen, do they use the same rules that they always have? So when Billie was bit by the dog at the end of episode 1, I think most of us Resident Evil fans are saying, well, that is how the outbreak gets started. Because if Billie gets bit, obviously we're focusing on this family. Something's going to happen to where they let it get fucked up, and she's going to let the outbreak occur. But you might be surprised to see here in episode 2 that we don't immediately go into any kind of outbreak, which is a very, very purposeful decision. Now, I talked a little bit here about Tamara Smart, who plays young Jade Wesker in episode 1, as she's really our lead character in episode 1. She's obviously our audience's avatar in episode 2, moving on as well too for the future. But I liked seeing that episode 2 started to split time up more amongst the Wesker family. So Jade, Billie, and Albert Wesker all get equal parts of screen time in this episode, which is fantastic because regardless of the characterization of some of these characters, the cast is truly phenomenal. Tamara Smart plays up younger Jade Wesker as somebody just with so much rage within them and resentment towards her family for, you know, even the good things that have happened in the life that she leads. She holds so much anger within her. Whereas Billie on the other side is trying to carve out, again, just a new life for her, different from what she's come from. Billie, of course, played by Sienna Agudong, who is another just phenomenal actress to offset what Tamara Smart brings as Jade, because as we see across episode 1 and even more here in episode 2, it really does seem that Jade is the one having a harder time adjusting than it is Billie, when we thought it was going to be the other way around. Because, you know, in the first episode, Billie gets beat up by the random kid. Jade goes and attacks her. Billie's the one that has to suffer for it. Jade also is the one who decides she'll back Billie up to go and try to break all the animals out of the Umbrella facility. When Billie gets bit, Jade has to save her. So I found the dynamics between those two to get even more interesting, because the entire time we trust that sister bond that they have, that they're looking out for each other, that they wouldn't take care of each other as well too. But how long does that last once you're infected? Because you're not really in control of your being. And as we see across this episode, Billie is struggling with that fight. You know, we don't get any super strong attacks or outbreaks or anything like that that's coming out of it. But it's set up very quickly that we don't know what's going to happen when this incubation time frame is over. in the games, in the previous movies, things like that. How long it took for somebody to turn into a zombie after being infected was always up in the air. It changed from character to character, game to game, movie to movie. But I think we can all expect at some point, well, Billy's got to turn at a certain point, right? So I'm loving the interaction between between Billy and Jade right now, and also Jade and their father, because we're seeing, whereas in the first episode, that both the girls very much holding that grudge against Albert Wesker, not willing to back down from that at all. As Albert helps them escape the facility and kind of cover up what went down, we find out that Jade's having to rely a little bit more on what Albert Wesker is telling them, and his care as well too. So because of that and the fact that Jade doesn't trust her father at all and she wants to look out for her sister, Jade starts her own independent investigation online with the help of her good friend at school, Simon, and is able to find out a story about outbreaks at Umbrella's labs that have led to a number of deaths and a number of attacks as well too. And as Jade investigates further and further, her suspicions and her fear about what's going to happen to her sister just increasingly grow. And that's one of the better things about Jade's character in the past. Again, Tamara Smart does a great job with the role, but I definitely felt in episode 1 that a lot of Jade's anger and rage might have been able to be dialed back a little bit. And I'm hoping as we keep on going further in the 2022 storyline, Jade starts getting some resemblance of happiness. Because we know the Resident Evil series isn't about happiness. It's not about anything good happening to these characters. They have to go through a hell of a lot to get to any kind of resolution. But the thing is, with the kind of story that they're telling back in 2022, the teen drama, as people have put it, which, guys, it's a lot more than that, because this isn't just about dealing with boys and girls and relationships and shit. Like, there's a lot of trauma and a lot of psychological issues that not only these girls, but that Albert Wesker is dealing with himself as well too. So I think there's a lot to be interested in the story that they're telling in the 2022 timeline, but I do wish it would get pushed just a little bit faster. Clearly there's an attraction between Simon and Jade as well too. Billy's kind of having a little bit of an issue with that, and that poses one of the other problems as well, is that so far it seems that like these girls sometimes get into the deep end with the way they react to things. Billy's got an excuse. She's infected by the T virus at this point, so that could be sending her emotions to super highs and super lows. But I just wish they could find out a way to kind of smooth Jade over a little bit. And I think the reason why it stands out a lot is because of the way that Jade carries herself in the future. So far, even the friendly characters that future Jade has interacted with turned out to just want to screw her over. So besides the phone call with her husband and her daughter, we're not really getting much out of Jade in the future. And that's what I'm hoping that we get to see, is that more of a softer side. Clearly she's been through so much over the course of her life at this point that we want to see something better come out here for her at this point. Now, it was also revealed that Billy is still alive in the future. We have not seen Billy in these 2 episodes left, but Billy is apparently still alive, which is interesting because Jade has made sure to point out that nope, she's dead. So that doesn't make any sense. And that sends me off into a million different ways of where the show could go, because my assumption, again, from the end of episode 1, is that Billy's infection, Billy's dog bite, is what was going to lead to everything going to shit. That New Raccoon City about to have another outbreak, and it was Billy's fault. And not really her fault, she got bit, but you get the idea behind it. But the fact that they're saying that Billy is still alive opens up the door for a lot else, because if Billy's not dead, that would imply that either there's some kind of cure, or maybe somehow Wesker did something to his girls to where they can't get infected or they don't turn or something along those lines. Now, it can't be full immunity because, as we see in this episode, Jade is absolutely having a reaction to that bite. She's having these angry impulses. She's seeing things that aren't there. She's dreaming of blood as well. So something is going to happen here, but we have no idea what yet. What led to this outbreak? And it could be something as simple as like the other games, to where, hey, it's a completely unrelated incident and it just went from there. But we just don't know. What was really cool, though, is that we get to see Jade kind of defend herself against more of these zombies. In episode 1, there was a lot of running. She got knocked out. There's the caterpillar. But in episode 2, she's really dealing with a lot more zombies, and we get to see the way that they are. Now, What's kind of bugging me is that right now the zombies are very much giving off a bit of a World War Z vibe, the movie. I've talked about it before in great detail. Not a fan of the movie World War Z simply because of the way the zombies are, okay? The fact that it's not really comparable to the book, that's a whole different story. But in World War Z, the movie, it's made very clear that the zombies aren't really there to eat people. They are there to infect and move on, and that's it. And that kind of seems the way that they're going with these zombies as well, too, because we're not really seeing them eat people. They swarm and attack, and then that's kind of it. So I'm trying to let that out of my mind, but it's hard to let that go because if there's one thing I know about Resident Evil, it's that Umbrella is evil, the T-virus is evil and will cause people to turn into zombies, and zombies eat people. Those are the three staples of my Resident Evil environment. Two of those seem to be right. I don't know if I can deal if that third one's not really the case there. But that's also okay because we find out that that Umbrella wants Jade alive. This is not a case to where she's trying to kill her, so Jade obviously has some value to Umbrella. For what, we have to assume it has something to do with her genealogy, her biology, whatever. Because remember, we saw in episode 1 that Albert Wesker was taking blood from his girls on a regular basis, and he looks to be injecting himself with it as well, too. So there's something with that that has to do with the reason, obviously, that Umbrella wants to get hold of Jade. And we see this because the operative sent to collect Jade, Baxter, who is so fucking awesome. I love this Baxter character so far. We see that Baxter is ordering his men to not harm her, that we need to get her. Don't kill her because we gotta bring her back. So that stands that Jade obviously is very valuable to Umbrella, and we're going to find out at a certain point exactly what that value is. What is she bringing to the table that Umbrella needs from her? And we know, again, probably has something to do with her blood or biology, whatever, but we just don't know yet. Now, Jade manages to escape and she gets to Dover, where she's basically trying to find a way to get back home because as we find out, her husband, boyfriend, whatever you want to call it, along with her daughter are living in a community called the University. And she's got to find a secretive way to get there because she can't let Umbrella find out about that. And she realizes she might be able to get smuggled overseas to where then she can get a connection to the university. This also allows us to find out that the world has been somehow decimated, most likely because of the T-virus and Umbrella's doings, and that now everything is broken up into territories. That Umbrella really runs the United States, but then there's other corporations like the Brotherhood and all these other entities out there that are running different parts of the world. So the world is not what we once knew, and it seems to be very much in a sense in state of lawlessness, which is interesting because the Resident Evil games don't really go there. That's really something that's been realized in like the Paul Anderson movies, but in the games, that never really happens. Like that's actually weird to really think about. The fact that over the course of 25 years, 26 years, I guess at this point here, we haven't really seen any kind of world-ending stuff in the Resident Evil games. Not a one. It's always about this isolated location that definitely has been infected, but the rest of the world typically seems to be okay. So it's always interesting to me that Resident Evil and other mediums chooses to go that route and say, hey, the world's been destroyed by this virus. Here's the way that things are now. It's just very interesting. So Jade gets to Dover and is trying to find a way to get back home, and unfortunately Umbrella catches up to them as well too. They clearly know what's going on and they're looking to put a stop to this as well. Now obviously we know that Umbrella has better resources than any of these other entities that are out there, and I'm very curious if we get to see all these other places over the course of this season so we can see how people are running things differently from Umbrella. Because one thing that we know about zombie apocalypses and how they're represented in movies and games and TV shows is that even if there is this terrible corporation out there that's behind everything, there are other terrible people that are out there. That not working with Umbrella doesn't necessarily mean that you are the good guy in this case. So we don't know what's going to happen, but Jade has been told that she needs to seek out the Brotherhood to help her get back home, but that the Brotherhood could be even worse than Umbrella at times too. So we don't know what's going to happen, but Jade definitely has some confrontations coming up if she's going to get back home safely. Now, in reference to other things from the games and the movies. Not so much in this one. We get a lot of zombies in it for sure as well too, but we have to assume that more are definitely coming. I've been assured that we're going to see liquors in it because, again, they released all these trailers that had the liquor in there. So I'm excited, and I'm hoping that means that's what's coming up here in the next episode. But so far, the show continues to get better. I'm enjoying the intrigue of what's happening back in 2022. I keep hoping and wishing that we're going to see glimpses of like the Albert Wesker that we all know and love. And again, we're not going to talk the racial part of that there, but I want to see the sunglasses. I want to see the slicked back hair. I want to see him moving because he's infected and shit. I'm wondering if we're going to get any of that, or at least something, because he's already shown verbally that he could be the same Albert Wesker that we know and love from the games. But let's see if physically that Lance Reddick can pull that out. So we're going to cross our fingers, and we're really going to hope that this works out here. But it's only episode 2. Still plenty of time for this to come to fruition. I'm loving the series, y'all. Again, you have to realize that we're not going to get things just 100% the way that you want. We can live with that, though. So, go to Netflix, check out the first 2 episodes of Resident Evil, and I'll be back next week with my thoughts and my opinions on episode 3, y'all. Hey everybody, I appreciate you checking out this video, whether it was a review, whether it was a new episode, whether it was an unboxing, an interview, or whatever else. I want to remind you can check out my separate reviews also on my YouTube page, and new full episodes go up every Wednesday night on YouTube at 8:30 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, and on your favorite podcasting platforms at 8 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, like and share. My name is T. We've been talking scary movies. Stay scared.